Right, today we are diving in deep and talking about something amazing, something that I know, and I'm going to share with you how I overcame it and how I just keep leveling up my entire life over and over again for the last 20 plus years. So, first and foremost, you are not your past, baby. Your past does not have the power to define you. Your past certainly does not have the power to control you and decide for you what the fuck you get to have or not get to have if you do what I tell you to do. So stay tuned. Hey everyone, my name is Kim Velez. I'm a former trauma therapist turned life coach, helping you level up your mindset so you know you're loved and worthy. You know you're valued. You know you fucking matter. You know you're the prize. That is like my signature stamp right there, as well as being the magnificent goddess that you truly are. You just don't know her yet. I am here to help you manifest it all: money, good health, love, the best life possible. So part of this that I come across all the time is our identity is really rooted in the past, right? Whatever experiences we've had, what we've been programmed with, conditioned to, and exposed to, and we've accepted for truth for ourselves, and how we see ourselves is the story of us, which is what is manifesting either favorable things or not so much favorable things. And a lot of times what people really get stuck in is whether they had trauma, and it doesn't have to be severe trauma. In therapy, there's things called, big T and little t, big traumas, little traumas. Big trauma could be one specific major event that happened that shook everything up. And then little t trauma is really just things that are happening continuously and regularly that are causing you to have this chronic kind of trauma in your life. Like for me, it would be being in foster care, right? Day after day, year after year, day after day, year after year, which by the way, I ran away from them all. Even at that age, I was like, nobody's holding me the fuck back. I'm going to do what I want. And I ran away from all those motherfucking places. Got my ass beat by a grown ass adult there when I was a teenager. But that's a whole nother story for a whole nother time. But that example right there could have been something I could have carried with me and really defined me and prohibited me from moving forward in my life. But I didn't let it do that, right? I overcame so much of my past. A lot of people don't overcome their past. A lot of people stay really anchored in emotionally and identity-wise to their past because they've let their past childhood trauma or some traumatic event really reshape them and redefine them. And I'm not saying that it's wrong that if we experience different types of trauma in our life, like at some point it is going to change us, right? I think most who have gone through that can understand that and agree with that. But where you don't want to give up your power is you don't want to create a story of the world, a story of you that is unfavorable, that says because of these things that happened or this one-time thing that happened, now I am this. Now I can't have this, right? That's where we don't want to give up our power to it. So, when I look back at my life, like I forget sometimes all the shit that I've overcome, and it's really quite a bit. And there's lots of people who've overcome bigger things than what I have. And I'm not trying to act like, mine is the heart-throbbing story of the year, because it most certainly isn't. But I think that it can provide a lot of value and benefit and really encourage people and remind people that I don't give a fuck what's happened to you in your past. It does not have to control and define you in your future and what you get to have. And that is so important, and that's what is rooted in my messaging all the time as I coach and help people level the fuck up. So, listen, I was in the foster care system from 12 to 18. There was, other things that transpired before I turned 12 in my childhood that produced a lot of instability. And like I said, I ran away from all those places. Nobody was going to stop me. I was like, fuck this is not where I want to be. And I just kept running away, running away, running away. And then when I turned 18, I was let out of the system. I got put on a PINS, which in the state of New York is called a person in need of supervision. And basically the state comes in and it kind of has custody over you. My mom is still involved, but I'd be lucky if I could go home on a weekend once in a while. And so I just kept running away because I'm like, this is not where I want to be. So when I turned 18, I moved out of the state. I got off the PINS and I was like, I'm out of here, moved. And one of my friends, her husband at that time, he was in the Marine Corps. So she was in North Carolina by herself. She's like, oh my God, come down, stay with me for a while. So I moved to North Carolina at 18 and stayed with her. Well, I ended up pregnant. I got pregnant at 19. So let me back up though. So at 18 years old, I had no no high school education. I literally, because I ran away from everything all the time and I hated school and I had truancy officers after me and I just was never going to class and it just was not my thing. And I failed ninth grade twice because I never went. And I had to get my GED because part of when I was in the PINS, person in need of supervision in the state of New York, they were like, you either graduate or you get your GED. So I got my GED, which I'm glad I did because, whatever. So once I turned 18, no high school education, only had a GED, got pregnant at 19. Now I'm in another state. And I was like, oh my God, like, what is happening here? So I decided then the son's father left me when I was pregnant. He didn't want anything to do with me and my baby. So I was like, all right, I'm going to manifest somebody who fucking does. And literally at 5 months pregnant, I met my ex-husband and he instantly was like enamored by me and came into our lives and he took care of us and helped us out tremendously and he married me and he adopted my son and he was there through every experience that a real father is. He was there with me in labor. He's an amazing father. And we were together for 10 years and then we divorced because my self-concept, right? I didn't know this at 19. I didn't have a pattern yet in my dating life to understand what was going on with me and things like that. So we ended up divorcing. We're friends to this day. I'm friends with his family. Like we all get along. He's still an amazing father. And then I decided, right, so here I am, no high school education, only have a GED, and I'm like, I'm going to college because back then there was no YouTube, there was no Snapchat, there was no fucking Instagram, there was zero social media, internet was barely taking off, so the world was very different and how you leveled up was very different. And so for me at that time and the beliefs that I held, it was you need to go to college because you got to do something different. So then there was people telling me good luck getting into college because you have a fucking GED. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. So I went to college, went to college and I got my associate's degree and then transferred to a 4-year university, got my bachelor's degree in finance and came out and worked at a fucking very swanky investment firm. And then I quickly realized like, you're not gonna, I was doing accounting at an investment firm and I'm like, this is not my cup of tea. Hell no, we're not gonna be sitting in a cubicle for the rest of my life crunching numbers. This is not gonna be good. So then I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I had to go through all this transformation and figure things out. Because like I said, didn't have access to any social media. YouTube wasn't even invented yet. None of this shit that we have that we take for granted every day to access information. I don't even think Google wasn't even around back then. So I had to fucking order books and go to the library and read a bunch of shit and just try to figure out what the fuck am I going to do. I did a lot of internal work. I had to face a lot of fears. Back then, never even heard of Neville, didn't even know about law of assumption, definitely knew about law of attraction. So started to really look within. And that's where I decided I'm going to be a therapist. I want to help people. So moved into that career, blah, 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 blah. But the point of this is I overcame a lot. I was not letting my past define me. I didn't give a fuck that I had a baby out of wedlock at 19. I didn't give a fuck that the guy left me. I didn't give a fuck that, I was out of foster care and fucking running away left and right and that I didn't even have a high school fucking degree. I knew I'm supposed to help people. I knew that I was going to make my life better. And that's what the fuck I did. And so I fucking went to college full time, worked part time, and then my husband at that time, he, worked as a Marine, and that's what we did for a long time. And I got my fucking degree. And then I bought my first house. I got divorced at 28, and then bought my own house, moved into that, and then decided, okay, I'm going to go back to college. And that's when I decided to get my master's degree and become a therapist. So that was a whole manifestation story too. And the thing I had to overcome from that transition happening is in the state of Florida, at least at that time, I have no idea if it's changed. This is back in, mid 2000s. I had to do part of graduating with my master's degree to be able to be a therapist in the state of Florida is that I had to, in my internship, before I could graduate, I had to have a year internship that was unpaid and I had to do 40 hours a week. So I'm sitting here like, okay, going to college full-time, working full-time as doing the accounting job that I was doing at the investment firm. I have my son, who I think was 8 at that time, 8 or 9, I don't even know, young at that time. And I have this house and mortgage and bills that I pay all on my own. So I'm like, how the fuck am I going to do this? How the fuck am I going to work 40 hours a week at the internship, not getting paid, and then work 40 hours a week as an accountant? But I didn't know. I didn't know what the answer was, but I said, I don't care, somehow, some way I'll figure it out. Like, I will figure it the fuck out, but I'm doing this. I'm meant to be a therapist. I'm supposed to help people, and this is the only avenue to go down, and so we'll figure it out. So I joined, signed up for the master's. It was a 2.5-year program, did that shit constantly, and literally, like 6 months before I was supposed to graduate, right, and start or get close to not graduate, sorry, 6 months before I was supposed to do the internship, start the 40-hour-a-week unpaid internship, this is what I manifested, guys. My boss, who, of the investment firm, he owned it and ran it, and it was his mutual fund, and all the investing was done in Boston, and we worked in the back office in Palm Beach, Florida. So he was like, I'm closing this office and everything's going to be moved in-house up in Boston. So he was like, I'm giving you guys, he was such a great guy. He's like, I'm giving you guys a 6-month notice so you can prepare, you have plenty of time to find another job. And he said, and when you're ready to leave, you can stay here for the full 6 months if you want, or you can leave before. He said, but whenever you leave, I'm going to give you a severance package as well. So I stayed for the 6 months because it was perfect timing for me. It was 6 months or 3 months now that I'm thinking it. It might have been 3 months. I don't know. Anyways, I stayed for the remainder of the time because the timing of when it was ending, when he was shutting the business down or the back end office, was actually when I would be starting my internship. And then I took a severance and I had money saved and I divvied that up over the year. And that is what I lived off of while I was doing the 40-hour-a-week unpaid internship for the next year. Then I also manifested, the internship place offered me a job, but they did not pay enough. They only wanted to pay me like $40,000 a year. And as an accountant, I think I was making 65 or 70 back then. And I'm like, there's no fucking way I'm going that low. So I declined the job, and I manifested meeting someone at the internship, and her and I became really good friends. And she was about 6 months ahead of me, so she finished 6 months before I did and was out in the workforce, and she got with this prestigious, amazing treatment agency that was like world renowned and just top level, top notch, one of the best in the country. I don't know if it still is because it's changed dramatically, but back then it definitely was. And they paid their therapists very, very well. And so she already got in there, was working there. And then when it was close to time for me graduating from my internship, she was like, I got you an interview, come in. So I went in, I did a full day working interview with them, and I didn't hear from them for a while. I emailed them again, like, hey, just touching base. I had such an amazing time with you guys, da-da-da. So they ended up hiring me, and they offered me more than I was even making as an accountant. So obviously I took that job. And listen, I just keep manifesting shit left and right. Manifested going into private practice for myself, manifested being a very successful online coach, overcame my self-concept and love, manifested a different version of my SP, and had really good things with him for quite a while. But I chose to move on from him because I wasn't falling in love with him, and I don't want to sell myself short. So I know that I'm ready for this next chapter of my life, and I'm manifesting some really big shit, and you guys will all stay tuned and just continue to watch what happens for me. It's going to be epic. So all these things I have overcome because I never let the past define me. Now, with my self-concept and love, I had to really do a lot of reprogramming and conditioning of my mind and working through the triggers of the 3D being delayed and giving me my old way of thinking over and over and over again. And I had to work through that and reprogram the story of me until I fully fucking knew that I was a goddess, and I fucking knew my worth and value, and that's when everything changed for me. And not only with SP shit, but guys, this is what I'm trying to tell you, like, my mind expanded so much because I up-leveled how I saw myself, and so my reality got bigger, and the possibilities for me got bigger, and I manifested in bigger experiences, and now they're gonna get even bigger and bigger, and as I continue to do that, it'll just keep getting bigger and bigger. And that's what this is all about. So you don't let your past define you. You do the inner work, you heal yourself, and so many of you won't fucking do it. So many of you are still going to be stuck on trying to fucking, get something outside of you to change instead of worrying about reprogramming your mind so you know and think and believe something different about you and what your reality says and what you get to have. Some of you are in it for the wrong reasons. Some of you want to stay victims. Some of you want to stay emotionally stuck in fucking pain. And a lot of you are going to struggle, and a lot of you are going to let another day go by and another fucking week go by and another year go by and not become the woman of your dreams and don't know your worth and value and definitely aren't getting favorable shit in your reality. So, those of you that are stuck in that, I feel really bad for you because you're going to have a fucking miserable time and you're wasting precious time and years rather than just reprogramming your mind. I mean, it's like when you go to the gym. When you go to the gym and you start training, you don't see results. In fact, a lot of people hate when they've never worked out and they start working out. They actually don't like it because their body hurts because they're not used to fucking moving it. And so when they start moving it, they're like, what the fuck, right? And they bitch and they complain and they're like, I feel worse than just stupid shit. A lot of people do that. And then what happens? The ones that stick with it, they start to release more good chemicals in them and they start getting used to the movement and their body gets stronger and they actually start correlating and liking the experience more and more, so much so that they look forward to working out. They understand the benefits of it. They're reaping the rewards of it. They're not focused like they were so negatively because they changed in that process, but yet they still don't see the results in the mirror. But they keep going. And every day they get up and they persist and they're consistent with their workout. And every time they look in the mirror, the scale hasn't budged, the body composition hasn't changed, they still look the fucking same, but they know if I keep doing this, at some point I'm going to get the result I want. And they get up every day and they fucking do it. And then at some point they get the fucking results that they want. And they didn't give up. And then when they get the results they want, they just go to the gym to fucking maintain it. So it's the same thing with your mindset. It's the same fucking thing. In the beginning, you're gonna fucking hate. You're not used to being the new you. You're not used to thinking these new ways. You're not used to fucking behaving and acting differently. And you're gonna have to break all those fucking habits and replace them with better habits that transform you on the inside out so your 3D reality has no choice but to reflect this new version of you over and over again. And you keep doing it. And you're not gonna get the results you want immediately. And you hate it in the fucking beginning. But then it starts to get easier. And then you start to like it more. And then you like thinking favorable thoughts about yourself and it feels better. And then you start noticing little bits of reflection here and there in your 3D reality. And then all of a sudden one day, the fucking 3D reality is actually reflecting to you everything that you've been affirming and who you became. And then now your job is just to consistently maintain the mental diet and the version of you that expects this to continue, that expects it to be ongoing. You're not changing the results per se. You already got what you wanted. You're just doing the same practice that works so you maintain and it gets better and easier. So it's the same fucking thing. So make the decision to do something different and fucking time's gonna pass by no matter what. So you might as well be changing and doing the inner work so you're not being a miserable version of you that doesn't know their worth and value and keeps manifesting in shitty fucking experiences. Or not. I mean, stay in that if you want to, but I know I fucking didn't want to, and it's working out very well for me and continues to do so. And the thousands of fucking beautiful souls that I have had the privilege of coaching and helping, they are fucking on the same page. They're fucking phenomenal and getting massive fucking results and massive fucking breakthroughs and transformations because they decided that they deserve better and they were no longer going to be a fucking slave to their fucking shitty past and believe in that fucking story and they chose something better for themselves. Why aren't you?